Although I did notice, like, there's no ophthalmology related to this. I told him that I could use this time to teach you all how to use the direct ophthalmoscope. The organizer said no. So instead, I'm going to talk a little bit about my life and some of the things that I've been through, the challenges I've faced, and what those challenges have taught me about the health, about comedy, about health insurance, specifically how to avoid being sued by companies for comedy-related reasons. So before we get into all of that, I thought we could do something kind of fun, and I want to do a little Q&A. Now, I get asked a lot of questions as an internet comedian ophthalmologist. It's kind of a weird thing. So I get a lot of questions. And maybe some of these are questions that some of you have for me as well. So I thought we could go through some of these. These are questions that I frequently get asked on social media. So the first question I get, are you a real doctor? Now you can't blame people for asking you this question. Like imagine you download TikTok. You first see the page. You open up the app, the first thing you see is this guy. Or this, or God forbid this person. He calls himself Dr. Glaucomflecken. You'd be totally reasonable to question this person's medical relations, everybody. But the truth is, of course, yes, I am a real doctor. Technically. I just think there are some of you out there who are just like a little bit like more of a doctor. Like when we get below the nasal bridge, no one is asking for my opinion on it. And all of you know more about it. That's what I'm saying. Here, actually, I brought some data to illustrate this point. So I decided, I grabbed my intelligence over time. So all of us, we all start at the same place, and then we just gradually get smarter, and engineer really ranks up. And then on my last day of intern year, that was the smartest I've ever been. It kind of drops off from there, as far as my general medical knowledge goes. And I don't want you all to think I'm crazy. So here's my eyeball intelligence over time. So again, we all start at the same place. We're not at zero. You notice that? Because all of us know we at least have two eyeballs. Basic knowledge. Then we get that one lecture in med school that you immediately forgot about. Then that one time during your training when you actually got an ophthalmologist to come into the hospital and see a patient that you learned from the forgot. And now it's just all ophthalmology. So people find out that I'm an eye doctor. I usually get this question, really? Like you're an ophthalmologist? Except these are questions being written to me in the comment section on social media, so it's more like, wait, you're an ophthalmologist? People don't realize it, because I spend so much time dressing up as different specialties in medicine. They don't know I'm an eye doctor. So when they find out I am, in fact, an ophthalmologist, the next question is, why? You're going to go through med school, learn everything about the human body, and just devote your career to the eyeball. Well, let me just tell you why I chose to be an ophthalmologist. So we have these surgeons in the room. I know we have a lot of surgeons here, right? So if you watch my videos, you know I love making fun of surgeons. You guys, surgeons, you're the low-hanging fruit of medical comedy. We should all be making fun of surgeons every day. All right, it should be just a thing, like you get your exercise, you eat well, and you make fun of surgeons. Like it's okay, they can take it. But I have to hand it to the vascular surgeons. Because of vascular surgery, I chose ophthalmology as a career. So, just to give you an idea about what this rotation is like, because I did 8 consecutive weeks of vascular surgery. 8 weeks. So we're getting up at 4 a.m. You work 3 rounds, and then you're round, and it's always an enormous group, the surgery rounding team. And at the end of my first week on that surgery rotation, the chief resident told me, "You have never been." He said, "Well, we really need you to be hitting the automatic door button earlier on the ground." slow down as we move through the hospital. People will die. Those were her exact words. And of course, I was like, that's good. And I was like, I didn't know this before competency of my life. Yes, of course, I will keep those automatic robots early. But those types of interactions stick with you. So much so that I'm like talking about it now, like 20 years later, 18 years, how many years. And I also made a TikTok about it. Wearing 20 pounds of lead, standing, like motionless, for like 5 hours. Listening to the attending talk about his favorite brand of compression stocking. Thinking there has to be a better way to do surgery. And then I left that rotation and started a 2-week elective in ophthalmology. And the first day I walked into the operating room, somebody offered me a stool to sit on. And that was it. I decided on ophthalmology. That's it. What you don't realize is that the decision to become an ophthalmologist, you only have to answer 3 questions. It's very simple. Do you like surgery? Do you like eyeballs? Do you like to sit down? That's it. Now, I know that there's some ophthalmologists here who can attest. The average ophthalmologist spends over 800 hours in the height various chairs throughout the year. We want to sit down. If you don't believe me, Google image search ophthalmologist. You do this. You know what you're going to find? There are 20,000 photos of people sitting down. Look at that. 3 ophthalmologists. They all found a way to sit around one eyeball. So I talk about the fact that I'm an ophthalmologist. A lot of times people ask me, well, how do you know so much about these different fields of medicine? Well, let me let you know. I don't. I'm faking it. Let me take you back to this graph here. Let's zoom in on part of the graph that I'm in right now in my career. This area represents all the medical knowledge that I use in my skits. Don't get it twisted. In general, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just really good at faking it. And then the last question that I get asked a lot, especially the last year or so, what do you have against United Healthcare? To answer this question, it's kind of a long story. So we're going to go back to the beginning. So I grew up in Houston, Texas. I started doing comedy in high school when I was 17 years old. And a friend of mine would go to the last stop on a Wednesday night, which is the least busy time for the comedy club. That's why they let people like us go up on stage and don't go. We would put our names on the list at that window right by the door, and then we'd go into the alley right next to it and smoke weed. Come a long way. And we did that for like a good year and a half while we were in high school, and we were getting, pretty good at it. And at one point, I had to decide, like, wow, I want to do comedy as a career, and I loved it. But I remember seeing like people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, all struggling to make it in stand-up. And I remember thinking, this job seems really hard. So I went the much easier route of anything got it. Went on to college, where I met my wonderful wife. At Texas Tech. And then after that, I went to Dartmouth. And she was in grad school, I was in grad school. This is us at my white coat ceremony. And the only reason I show you this photo is to show And at this time in my life, I was still doing a lot of dancing. I was still going to comedy clubs. I was making a little bit of money. I made $180 for this first 2 years. Technically, I was a professional comedian, but very modest. But then third year of med school came around. We got married, we had a kid. Life got busy. I was doing clinical rotations. So I got away from comedy for just enough time for it. And then toward the end of my final year, toward the end of my third year of med school, I woke up one morning and I found a lump in my testicle. And I was a student. I knew my testicle was not supposed to try to grow. So I went and got checked out, diagnosed with cancer. And as we all know, if you catch testicular cancer early enough, it's imminently treatable. And mine was. I had surgery, I was fine. Physically, I was okay, but emotionally, mentally, this is a huge shocker. But now, as a kid in his mid-20s who had a diagnosis that I associate with people who are 3 times my age, and he's sitting in oncology waiting rooms and seeing only people in their 70s or 80s. The rug has been pulled out from under you in this situation, and it felt really hard. I had to deal with these feelings, really the only way that I knew how in life at that time. Telling difference. And so I started writing material about my cancer experience. This is really my first foray into medical comedy. I was like also telling jokes about the Krebs cycle. But what it taught me was the value of humor as a coping mechanism. And it's why so many people in medicine, so many physicians, use humor on a daily basis. Because when we're faced with things in life that are beyond our control, you get sick, family member has an accident or gets sick, or a pandemic hits. There's so many things that we deal with that feel like they're out of our control. So humor that allows you to take that thing, whatever it is, and change it, and make it yours again, and present it to people and share a lot. You're reasserting control over some control situation. That's why it's such a powerful coping mechanism. And it helped me. So I was to stand up, graduated med school, went on to residency at the University of Iowa. And 4 years after my first diagnosis of cancer, beginning of my final year residency, I woke up one morning and I found a lump in my other testicle. Got checked out. Cancer. Again. I learned 2 things that day when I was diagnosed the second time. One, I am really good at finding my own testicle. That could be like a second career for me. Just finding it to be a weird thing to do as an ophthalmologist. But it is all just balls in the end. The second thing I learned is that I was part of the only 1% of people with testicular cancer who get it in the other side. The second time around was much more devastating because we had a lot of questions we had to answer. Were we done having kids? We had 2 kids at that point. Now I was facing I had to get a second one checked. So what is hormone replacement therapy? Do I have to postpone residency? Do I need to bank sperm? And can I give you all a little tip? You ever find yourself in a position where you need to bank sperm? Take the day off from work. The eye clinic at residency is like connected to the hospital, so there's something about finishing your morning clinic and going 3 appointments down the hall, banking sperm, and then going back to work and close your day off. That's the next question I get now. What's it like not having any testing? I'll tell you, riding a bike has never been more comfortable. To be honest, testicles, a little bit overrated. But the second time around, I didn't have time to get back into comedy tell jokes, do what I love to do. Because I'm in residency, I'm looking for a job. I was also in Iowa, not exactly a stand-up comedy hotbed. So I turned to social media. Started my Twitter account, called myself Dr. Glaucomflecken. I promised you guys I wouldn't teach you the ophthalmologist. We're not going to talk about what that is. The whole lecture in and of itself. It's a very exciting thing too. And then it helped. I was able to process things and use social media to just tell jokes and just get out some of the frustrations and the difficulties that we were having and talking about my experience again in seeing patients. We graduated, finished residency on time, thankfully. All I had to have was a second surgery. And we moved on to Portland, Oregon, where we are now. Got a job my first job out of training. And we were just excited to leave Iowa just to really put all that cancer stuff behind us. Like mainly because I ran out of testicles. And things were going great. I started making a TikTok channel, up, and my wife would walk around and find me in various strange situations, recording myself. It was an interesting time beginning of 2020. And then Mother's Day, 2020, 4 years after my second cancer diagnosis, I woke up one morning and found a lump in my third testicle. You probably never would have guessed there's so many testicle jokes in this talk, but there are. We had a wonderful day. We were in the backyard, having a water balloon fight, and ordering a meal. Just a really great Mother's Day. And these were almost the last pictures that were ever taken. Because that night, 4:50 in the morning, I had a cardiac arrest in my sleep. My wife woke up to the sound of me gasping for breath. She thought I was snoring at first. That was me trying to get me to wake up, but I wasn't waking up. And she thought, it sounded urgent, it sounded scary. She's not in medicine. She's marketing. She didn't know what was going on. She thought it was COVID. What she was hearing was agony. So she called 911. The dispatcher was concerned enough and said, start testing. Now, I weigh about 90 pounds more than her, so she couldn't move me off the bed. She was right there on the bed doing chest compressions for 10 minutes. 10 consecutive minutes until the EMS arrived. And people are always wondering, why did it take so long? Brutal. Well, this was kind of the she didn't know what was going on. And so all the first responders, the EMS, 3 layers of gear themselves. Finally, they got there, kicked open the back door. Never been so happy with structural damage in my life. Came upstairs, took me downstairs, no feet, and it shocked me 5 times. Maybe much medication. Finally got a heartbeat. They took me off to the hospital. I was pretty immediately transferred up to the ICU. They sedated me. They did like targeted hypothermia treatments. Pulled my brain down. That's except wasn't good. And then we waited. More specifically, my wife, 24 hours. The longest 24 hours of my life. Waiting for to be brought out. And that's why, those 24 hours is why whenever I talk about this, I always talk about the survivors. Because people think that this is my story, but it's not. I went to bed one night, I woke up in the ICU 2 days later, I had no idea what I was doing. My wife lived through every single moment. And so when we're seeing patients that have major medical trauma, never forget that often it's the people who respond to those family members, who are often family members themselves, right? The people that respond that often have more severe psychological trauma from these medical events. And we just need to pay attention. we have to be focused on the patient. That's our job, right? We got to first and foremost take care of the patient. But it doesn't take much. Just recognizing the impact that this has had on the people around us and do a world of good and how people feel about that. As grateful as I am for the people that take care of me, I am just as grateful as people who showed my wife compassion along the way. So the first picture there is the dispatcher, Lisa. She talked to my wife through CPR. Instrumental in saving her. Middle is Lieutenant Greg. He was the head of the EMS first responders. And he went up and down our stairs dozens of times, updating Kristen, letting her know what was happening, what the next steps were, what he can do for her. She's the person, he's the person she remembers the most. And then the third picture is Roger, my ICU nurse. He was the first person I remember when I woke up in the ICU. He was asking me questions, talking to me, trying to get me to remember my life. And he also facilitated FaceTime calls. One of the worst things about the pandemic was that family was restricted. They were close. So he helped set up FaceTime calls with me and Kristen and the family and all these good things. And he was also the first person out of the immediate cardiac arrest, the first responders, the emergency team, the ICU staff. He was the first person that asked my wife how she was throughout the whole. And so they brought me out of sedation, and we just had to see, like, would I be able to walk and talk and tell jokes? Most importantly, would I be able to tweet? So my wife did actually do something very, very important. She's so smart. She's just a futuristic thinker. She sent me to the hospital with my phone, but she deleted all my social media apps. She appropriately reasoned that if I was able to download Twitter, remember my password, that I was safe to tweet again. Very smart. She knew I was trying to do it immediately. That's exactly what I did. And so I made a full neurological attack, I think. I think it's neurological attack. Some people might hear it, based on some of my content. But I was okay. My scans were normal, my testing was normal. We still don't have an idea of why this happened, which is actually relatively common for cardiac arrest survivors, especially young ones. Either malignant or arrhythmic. Don't know why it happened. And so I remember sitting on the edge of my bed in the ICU on the day of discharge, and I was handed a box. And I opened the box, and what I see is a picture of this gentleman right here. You guys know what he's wearing? An external defibrillator. It's an electric bra, everyone. This was going to be my future for the next few weeks. I got to wear an electric bra because I couldn't get a defibrillator because of COVID, so they had to schedule the surgery out. And don't get me wrong, this thing, for an external defibrillator model, it looks great. It's fantastic. All right? But the man is 85 years old. And I'm sitting on the edge of my bed as a 34-year-old thinking, this isn't supposed to be happening to me. It's supposed to be happening to someone who looks like me. And it's just one of those reminders when you're a young person experiencing the healthcare system, education. It's just one of those things that reminds you you're not supposed to be here. It's just one of those isolating moments that you have. But I wore my defibrillator. And by the way, I now understand just how amazing it feels to take a bra off and make it It's incredible. And I went home. And a lot of people think, oh, that's great. You did it. That's the end of the story. You go home, connect with your family. And it was. Like, I got to hug my kids, hug my wife, see my parents. That's not the end of the story in this type of time. You know, now we have to face the recovery. And that's a much longer process. So I had to go in for another surgery, or I got my teeth placed. Now I had even more doctors than I had before. Adding a cardiologist and an electrophysiologist to the list. Wonderful people, by the way. I met an electrophysiologist. And then a few weeks after I got home from the hospital, that's when the medical bills started. And if you've had a major medical event, you know it's not just one bill. It's like every week you get something new. And they come from different hospitals. This was from the ambulance. That one's from the anesthesiologist, who is like a private practice, but they contract here, and so it doesn't look like it's something there. And then you get another one from another doctor, and you get an explanation of benefits. It doesn't not a bill, but God, it looks like a bill to me. It's purposefully confusing. And I'm a physician, right? I'm able to navigate this. They just told me just how hard it is for our patients. And they just get on it. You know, something like 92%, I think, of claim denials are not appealed. And I think it's just because of how confusing the system is. We're putting people through that every single day. And it's heartbreaking. And this experience of going through my own medical billing and insurance, well, what ended up happening actually was, after getting all my bills, I realized that there was about $40,000, $50,000 that wasn't covered by my health insurance.
Yikes.
So I was supplying the bill. Because the reason what happened with the ambulance, thankfully they took me to an in-network hospital, but the doctors that took care of me were out of it. See, I made a big mistake. I forgot to check.
Sometimes I found that too.
Before I died. And so it took 9 months of phone calls, of appeals, of being on hold, and occasionally yelling at people out of frustration. And finally, I got it all. It was a process. And that process, it caused a lot of changes for me personally and professionally, but also it resulted in a change in my comedy. I was making TikToks and videos at this point, and all the social media stuff. But now, after this, I started expressing my frustration through videos. I started making content about the healthcare system. This is one of the first ones I did.
My 5-year-old got a splinter while playing outside, so it was Dr. Daddy to the rescue. I gently removed it with a pair of tweezers, and then dressed the wound with her favorite Band-Aid from the movie Frozen. A few weeks later, she received a bill in the mail for emergent splinter removal and Band-Aid application for a total of $900. She told me that she only had $8 in her piggy bank and would be unable to pay the bill. I asked her if she had any medical insurance benefits through her job. She said she didn't have a job because no one would hire a 5-year-old. I showed her the applications at Cobra, but unfortunately she couldn't read them. I told her that it's no problem, we can just put her on a payment plan. But after 6 months of unpaid monthly statements, we had no choice but to send her to collections.
I put that video out, just kind of like, expressing my frustration. It was all there. And the response I got was incredible. Thousands of comments from people across social media, talking about their own experiences with billing, with denials, and not being able to pay, and all these things. And what it taught me was there is a lot of anger and frustration among the general public, among our patients. And so I was like, I gotta keep going with this. I gotta keep making these types of videos, and I did. Every single time I would make a video about our healthcare system, about insurance in particular, the response was overwhelming. You can see how many comments I'm getting on all of these. This one right here, closest to me on the side, was just a video where I humorously explained the prior authorization process. And I got 34,000 comments on it, of people talking about their own experiences. People are mad. People are angry. It's not just us in this room, right? It's everywhere. ProPublica, if you're as online as I am, you've probably seen some of these. ProPublica has been doing an investigative journalist series where they try to really dig in and look at these health insurance companies, try to uncover some of the kind of things they're doing behind closed doors regarding denials. And it's really shocking stuff. So please go to ProPublica, look at these articles. But we had Maya Miller, who's one of the authors on these articles, on our podcast. We interviewed her, and she talked about how they put a call out on social media, similar to what I do, just putting out a video and seeing what happens. They put a call out for stories about health insurance companies, and it required a team of 20 people to get through all of the submissions. Thousands, tens of thousands of people. And so, hearing about this, about the public outcry about health insurance, the question that comes to my mind is, how do we fix it? Right? How do we do this? First of all, how is it that you can have a company like United Healthcare with an approval rating of what I have to assume is 0%? How are they able to keep doing this? Keep taking advantage of anybody and everybody? The more important question is, how do we fix it, right? And it starts with all of you being here. Coming to things like this. Advocating in person to your legislature, your state legislatures, to Congress. That's something we've been doing forever, right? And it's still very, very important. But we also need to think a little bit more broadly. Think about social media. That's what I want to talk about, social media advocacy. Because that's where patients are. That's where the public is. And so, let me tell you a story about social media advocacy to really try to drive this home. In 2021, Aetna did a thing. Because they're always doing things. Always coming up with new ways. Aetna decided to require prior authorizations for every single cataract surgery. Do you have any idea how many cataract surgeries? If you have 2 eyeballs and you're over 60, you have cataracts. I'm sorry, those of you who are over 60. You have cataract. Everybody gets cataract surgery. So that idea of requiring prior authorization for every cataract surgery is overwhelming from an administrative standpoint. It was bogging down the system. We were having a huge wait list for our surgeons trying to get through this prior auth process. And there was a lot of advocacy that was being done. A lot of testifying in Congress and talking to legislators and everything. And I made a video about it.
Hey, Timothy. Yeah, boss, what's up? Why are we spending so much money on cataract surgery? It's a really common surgery. Well, can we not do that? Can we not cover cataract surgery? Yeah. No. People need to be able to see. Well, can we do that thing where we get to practice medicine without a medical license? Prior authorizations? Yeah. What if we require prior authorizations for every cataract surgery? Do you have any idea how many cataract surgeries there are every year? I don't know, like 100? 4 million. This would be a huge burden on patients and doctors. Come on, doctors won't care. You're forcing eye doctors to ask a room full of business majors for permission to do eye surgery. I think they'll care. We have to do this. Why? Look, I don't want to alarm you, but I went through our finances. We only made $8 billion in profit last year. Okay, so I was thinking, just delay all cataract surgeries for a few months. We can hold on to all the patient premiums and make more money. Can we just, for one day, not be evil? Jimmy, you knew what you signed up for when you started working here. Not evil. It's literally our mission statement, see? For an 80-year-old, she can't see, she trips, falls, breaks her hip. Now we're paying for hip surgery and cataract surgery. Oh, that's actually a good point. Thank you. We need to require prior authorization for hip surgery. Thank you.
satire gives me a little bit of protection. So they haven't come after me yet. So I keep calling them evil and using their logos and stuff. Because I love it. But I put this video out there, and a short time later, I got a message on Twitter. And I'm going to read this to you. The company CMO saw the Glaucomflecken video on Prior Auth and held a huge internal meeting about it. The CMO was angry about how the company was portrayed and wanted the video taken down. Not how the internet works, by the way. PR folks told the CMO that they couldn't, and so the company decided to review their policies, and no one internally seems to believe there will be significant change. I was blown away by this. Because up until this point, I was just like, I'm just venting, right? That's what these videos are. That's what all of us talking about expressing our frustrations on social media is. That's all we're doing. We're just venting. Like, what good is it going to do? Well, this changed my perception. Because this taught me that health insurance companies, they care about social media. They really do. Because that's where patients are. They care about their perception in the public eye. They're good at lobbying. Like, they can buy off all these Congress people, right? They can't control social media. I think it bothers me. And about, 6 or 9 months or so later, Edna actually ended up pulling back from that policy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they did it because of a comedy video, because that's not the case. It was a collective effort. There were a lot of ophthalmologists doing a lot of work, lobbying and talking on social media about these issues that got the job done. And that's the lesson I want to leave you with. Because it doesn't matter how many followers you have on social media. We should all be on social media. So, right? We need physician voices. The public's going to be there. That's where they're going to get their information. That's where we need to be. In whatever respect you want it to be. You don't have to have a lot of followers. You don't have to post a lot. We need to be there and seeing what the conversations are and contributing to those conversations if we can. Because it's not to change things like this. It's not going to take one person or one TikTok. It's going to be all of us collectively showing the public that this is what it's like for you. This is why your claim is denied. This is what it's like for doctors. We all need to be there. We all need to be telling our stories and talking about this with our patients and with people on social media. And so, keep doing the work you're doing and come to things like this. Get on social media, and we can make a difference, and we can take these things down. It's just going to take a lot of work. Thank you so much for your
story. I'm a fan of some of your videos. I don't know if you know Texaco Mike's drive-through MRI out there, but it was something that we thought was pretty funny. And so, just as a memento,
He also has an observatory on the roof of it as well, and a bunch of other things probably not.
We want to thank you for being here, and after hearing your story, what you went through in medical school and then